Today we're going to take a look at Today we're going to take a look at Il Plastico, the great model of Imperial Rome made by hand. The Plastico is one of the greatest things about the museum, and what it is a representation of all of ancient Rome within the walls, about 3,000 acres, and everything that was contained inside of it. And when it was constructed.
Hi, Peter.
Hello, how are you doing? What time is it for you?
It's 5 in the morning.
Oh,
Are you okay?
yeah, pretty good. I was out gardening during the eclipse, and it really was a fizzle. I'm far enough away from it so that it didn't seem any different than if a cloud had drifted over the sun.
Yeah, that's funny you should say that. The one eclipse I remember, I was in Syracuse, and we were driving, and it got really dark, and it was weird, and people were looking around, and we looked up, and it was an eclipse. That was obviously, that must have been the one in the 90s they keep referring to.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Hmm.
Yeah, it didn't phase. The birds weren't phased. The animals weren't phased. Neighbors were standing outside in chase lounges staring up at the sun for the entire time for about an hour and a half and nothing.
Yeah, that's
They had
cool.
the glasses, fortunately, though. Otherwise, they would have really been in trouble. I don't even know whether it would be good to have been staring through the glasses that much time at the sun.
Hmm.
We'll see. If they can't see tomorrow, I'll let you know. Hopefully, they'll be okay.
Yeah, indeed.
So we had the book club this morning. That went really well.
Yeah, I saw the transcript of that. Yeah, very good. It was not recorded though, was it?
I don't think she recorded it.
It was you, Danny, and Mark, and who else?
Mark Anderson. Just us, and Alexander was sort of in the background listening.
Okay.
I mean, Andrew was in the background listening, not Alexander.
Yeah. Somebody beginning with A. So I wonder who is coming now. Fabian tried to log on earlier. I don't know if he coming back. I'm just gonna text.
Oh. Oh, some good mail just came in. Always
Oh,
nice to have
good.
good mail.
So yeah, while we're waiting, see if anyone comes. Do you want to give me kind of a summary of this morning?
Basically, we're talking about different significant aspects of virtual reality and what distinguishes it from the real world. Oh, I cited a Murder, She Wrote episode. They ran, I don't know whether you ever saw it, but there was a Murder, She Wrote episode called The Virtual Murder, in which Jessica teamed up with a Silicon Valley VR startup to do a immersive murder mystery experience. So that was very interesting because in the beginning, she had a little conversation with one of the other characters about how it's important for older people to get involved with newer technologies and not to be scared off and intimidated by them, which I really liked. So I was citing that.
Yeah, that's a very good point. That is very important.
Then I pulled in a thread from Cyberspace First Steps that one of the attributes of virtual reality was that the virtual world would persist even when you're not connected to it. And that wasn't part of the points that were in the piece she had us read. So that was an extra strand that needs to be tied in.
Yeah, that I remember the first time I experienced something like that. I was playing Unreal, the game, and I died in the game, and the game kept going. I saw other players running around, but I was the only player. So it kept all the AI bots kept playing each other. It didn't care of the fact that I was no longer in the game. That was a very viscerally kind of, what the hell?
Exactly.
So yeah, no, there's some interesting aspects there.
And Dini was talking about her early experiences in Moose. We had a side discussion on the rape in cyberspace.
Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be a big thing.
And that reminded me of an old episode of Max Headroom where they said that credit fraud was worse than murder because it goes to the very foundations of the world they lived in. So you kill somebody, they're dead, but if you can't trust credit, the entire system fails for everybody.
You know that in Europe in the 1600s, um, it was very much like that. If you were guilty of forgery, and when it comes to financial matters, you would be, and found guilty, you would be boiled alive. So your punishment was worse than murder for exactly that reason.
That's a very effective deterrent.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Have you been watching the new show Shogun?
No.
It's quite amazing, and there was a scene in there that came up and was like, oh, that's horrible. And the first episode isn't like running a long story, but so then we looked it up and said, yeah, that was useful in Europe, excuse me, used in Europe too. So yeah, pretty scary.
And I'm going to try to find where in the cyberspace First Steps books they were talking about that principle of the world persisting whether you were connected or not, because unfortunately they didn't put an index in that volume. There should be like a special hell for authors who do anthologies and don't have a master index so that you can find things afterwards.
Yeah.
But it's in there somewhere. At least I know which book I saw it in with certainty, even though I can't remember which one of the chapters or authors came up with the point. And then near the end, I also mentioned from that book the oh, what was it? There was a principle of personal visibility or something along those lines. I don't remember the exact original source wording, but the idea was that one of the other key aspects of virtual reality was that you would be visible to other participants in the space.
Yeah,
And
yeah, sorry, go on.
yeah, and Dini mentioned she saw some system somewhere where they had variable levels of visibility depending upon how familiar you were with the other person. So if it wasn't someone that you were really close to, you'd simply see a gray form of a generic person avatar. But if it was someone who you authorized to be in your inner circle, then they'd get to see more detail fleshed out.
So Apple just announced SharePlay in FaceTime calls, and that's 5 people. And I'm just trying to find the developer stuff for that because it does deal with what you're talking about, how much can be seen, how you share the space, and all of that as not an ideal, but as something that's implemented.
Oh, and as you requested, I emailed Deanie with all my GitHub stuff, and she's connected me, so I'm in the main lab repo now. So I
Okay,
was looking, so I was looking at the code.
and how was that?
Well, at the moment, it's one giant, humongous single file.
Yeah.
I'd strongly recommend breaking that up into separate modules and importing logically discrete sections so it'll be easier to navigate.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That will be important to do.
So
Just
maybe what I'll do is I'll pull that file into Tinderbox and let Tinderbox explode it at the start of function calls and see what it looks like.
yeah, so I'm typing on, just trying to find this.
That's actually the most useful function in Tinderbox is the explode function. Because basically you can describe a pattern that you want to break a node up under, and then it will basically split up into discrete subnodes wherever that pattern appears. And it's just
Okay,
a real handy data triage utility.
that is very useful. Yeah, you're just gonna have to look up.
Oh, so how was the trip to Japan? How long did that take?
We went via Beijing this time, so it was a little over 11 hours to Beijing, and then from Beijing it was just 3 hours. We stayed there for 3 days. But unfortunately, Edgar got quite sick. He was very well on one day, so we thought everything was fine. Um, but yeah, so we had a day at Tiananmen Square. That was absolutely amazing. Really, really atmospheric, lots of pictures, etc. But yeah, I'm so grateful he's seen the country and seen how modern it is, seeing how many cameras there are. There are so many cameras here. It's absolutely nuts. So yeah, it was a good flight. It was definitely a good trip.
Well, I hope he's feeling better now.
I don't know. I'm in actually a separate room because I used to have a big snoring problem, and Emily's auntie thinks I still do. It's not as bad, but I get to have this meeting with you. It's basically a bed. The sink is, yeah, I'll have to sit sideways on the office chair for the meeting. It's tiny, but anyway, Emily texted that he seems to have stopped coughing, not quite as much coughing.
So my good email was I've been accepted into the Institute for the Study of International Expositions, and that's an online community of researchers who are interested in world's fairs and similar events.
Oh,
So
that's
basically,
good.
it's a networking group.
Basically what?
So basically, it's a networking group.
Oh, okay. Very good. Yeah, no, that's one of your key interests, of course. I was using the vision on the flight for a couple of hours. It was very interesting. The person in front of me insisted on leaning back. So once everything was set up, I was in a forest working very productively. So basic use case. I don't think anyone else is joining. Both Leon and Fabian tried earlier.
Yeah, I saw Leon in Slack, and he said he wouldn't be able to make it for the times
Oh,
today.
okay. Oh, he said that in Slack. Okay.
Yeah. Ah, here's Rob.
I'm here,
Hello, Rob.
Good to see you,
not for
Rob.
a long time. I'm not here for a long time, but I'll be here for a few minutes. I did have something to say.
Are you in a Nautilus?
Yes.
Is that because you've been naughty?
No, it's because it's on my mantle. Oops.
Aha. Cool. Yeah, so I'm not sure who's coming. Fabian thought it was started an hour ago, so I don't know if he has time to come back, chance to come back out. But welcome, and please tell us what you have to say.
Well, I was talking to a friend of mine who's an academic and a scholar, and she wasn't particularly interested in any of the stuff that you were doing with documents. She said that she's fine with PDFs. But what she would like is to be able to click on the number of a footnote and have it spoken, so that she didn't have to take her eyes off the text she was reading, because often footnotes are useless. They're just, you know, text references or something you don't need to see.
Right.
And she thought if she could hear a few seconds of it and stop it, that would be a way to keep going without having to either look at the bottom of the page or worse, go to the end of the book or the section to read the footnote. So that's my contribution.
That's really interesting, actually. I'm going to share a screen with you for a moment on that. So you can see, of course, right?
Yep.
Just waiting for Zoom to settle down. Right, okay, so this is not a footnote yet. This is just a citation, but you can click on it and it'll show you the source like that, right?
Yeah.
Nice.
And
That's
just gonna see.
standard. But she
It-
doesn't
it's,
want to have to move her eye.
yeah, this is not standard. It's standard in my work, nowhere else.
Okay.
So you can do it in Reader, but you can actually do this. Hang on. Oh, it didn't do it on that. Oh, here we go. Here's a footnote down here. See? These are footnotes.
Yeah.
They happen to just be links, these particular ones, but so you don't move your eye
Yeah.
at all. You click on it right there rather than going to the end of the page. In terms of reading, though, we have this.
This thesis will explore how the authorship and readership continuum can be improved through augmenting academic documents.
So that's just select text and hit the letter S.
Well, that is interesting. I'll tell her about it. They used to have rollovers, so if you ran the mouse over the footnote number, it would pop up.
Yeah, it depends where it
I
is,
saw
and
this.
in the normal Acrobat notes, but it was Mark Anderson who wanted it for PDF, so that's why we have it for citations as well as footnotes.
Okay, good. I'll pass that on.
It wasn't difficult to do, so I'm surprised it isn't everywhere, and it's not a very novel thing, but yeah, it's there. But while you're here, do you have another few minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm just going to show you guys something that I came up with. Sorry, I'm working on a tiny screen here because of the travel.
Yeah.
What in the world?
At least you're air conditioned.
Yes, I am air conditioned, which is quite handy. Peter, you're there, right?
Yes.
Okay. So it's very brief, but I think it solves a problem for us. It's the presentation here is based on it being done in Author, but I think it would be better to do it in XR, and at the end I will show you what I mean by that. So currently in Author at the bottom of the screen, you can toggle between Write and Map View. I'm also adding in the concept of this a reference view. So if you look, it's bolded right at the bottom. I now click on Map, we have the map. So these two things already exist. So if we now add references, we get a basic two-column view of references. lower left, there is column/timeline, lower right, author title occurrence. If I now click on timeline, they move out like this, meaning,
Oh, beautiful.
thank
I
you.
really like
that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Peter. So the x-axis now is in the past on the left and towards the future, towards now on the right. The vertical lines indicate exactly the time that document was released. Lower right, author title occurrence, toggles the x-axis as in top-down sorting. So even though you've got time running right to left, well, left to right, you can choose to have the documents anyway up and down. That was my big insight. That makes sense, doesn't it? To use the two axes like this.
That's brilliant. That needs to be written up and published somewhere fast.
Well, I hope I can just do it because I've been in email discussions a little bit with, that doesn't matter. Okay, so the next step is you select an item and suddenly you can see the author's names again and the year, and also shows what it cites on the left, who cites it on the right. Very much like we've seen in our other work, right?
Mm-hmm.
So here's the thinking. If we want to do this in XR, all we need to do is use our little control rectangle that's at the bottom by your hand and put exactly the same controls on there. Basically, column/timeline, because sometimes you just want a column to find something easily, right?
Yeah.
And that's it, really. Yeah, I just wanted to run that by you guys because, hang on, I can't see you, bringing you back. Because right now we've been spending quite a lot of time in the reference section, which is very important and good. But we do need to be able to integrate going to the reference section into different things, different views, different aspects of the different parts of the document. So we'll see how that goes.
Well, it looks really elegant. I like the design.
Thank you. Another thing I'm trying to do is in XR, Reader XR, I'm trying to accommodate Dini's wishes as much as possible because of the high quality text rendering. And one of them is, where to put things. Hang on, let me see if I have a picture for that to show you. So this is based on what we talked about together last time. Just gonna make it full screen when Zoom would allow me. To have, for a PDF, to have the title of table content / outline on the right. Hang on. There it is. And then also some way of doing annotations. But in this view, we also need a way to toggle in and out of references. So we could use the author style bottom bar for our giant toolbar and see how that works. So those were kind of the ideas for today. That's what I was mocking up in Beijing 2 days ago. Been an amazing trip.
You must wonder where you are.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's been being in China was really a bit surprising. It was different from when I was here many years ago. First of all, people are very well. I'm not there now. I just arrived Japan, but people are much more friendly and loud than I remember, and there's a lot more display of public affection. People would be holding, kissing, all of that stuff, and not in a too much sense, but in a really caring sense. And even on the highway driving to the airport, the taxi driver would chat with the person taking the money. There would be, how are you? Thank you, all of that kind of stuff. There was lots of that, and that was all in the shadow, so to speak, of so many cameras. When we would be on the run on the tube, sorry, on the way to Tiananmen Square and other places, sometimes we'd see two soldiers at guard standing almost back to back, kind of adjacent looking out. They would also have a camera on them so that somebody could make sure they were standing to attention. Right. And entering the country and leaving the country, the amount of paperwork when we're leaving, after we checked in, one of the guys came running after us to check if you had a piece of thing done. And we were just thinking, what are you going to do if we were missing this? Throw us out of the country? You know, we're literally on our way out.
No, not let you leave the country.
Yeah.
Not let you leave.
It was also interesting with the food because Edgar was sick for 2 days. We ate a lot in the block, the hotel block, and it's like they're almost self-contained cities, you know. And so we were eating in the food from the kind of tiny little restaurants the employees would eat. And some of the food, if I had been served it in the West, I would have said it was not authentic, which was really cool. I was like, okay, here it is in a Chinese restaurant in China. It is authentic. You know, it's some of them maybe a bit of tomatoes or whatever. So I was like, okay, time not to be a snob about food. But yeah, it was lovely. Wouldn't want to live there, but great as an experience.
Well, I'll reconsider.
So Rob, you're at home.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Shall we try a FaceTime share play call?
Oh, we could try it. I think we had a
Peter, you know, I really look forward to when you have an opportunity. I understand it's not super easy, but it'll be really great. Whoops. Sorry, this room is so tiny. It's basically a shoebox. Things are going to fall down. Yeah, so Peter, what we're going to try now is actually worthwhile explaining it. Is not just a FaceTime call, but it's where our upper torsos, hang on, I have to set this up, are shared, kind of floating in space with each other. So it's obviously a huge thing and related to what you guys talked about this morning. But what's special about it is that it exists. Oh,
Is that something you can share over the screen? Can you do like a screen share of what you're seeing in that experience? Or not
I'm
yet?
going to try that.
Okay,
I'm going to try that.
exciting.
View mirroring. I have a web browser running on the side here with the things that Fabienne and then we're trying to make me do. I'm gonna have to try that again.
oh boy.
Unable to connect. What's that about?
And that's worked. Okay, so we go to people.
Yeah, just try to call me while I try to set up sharing for Peter. First, I should probably.
Yeah.
What in the world is that? Why am I hearing Edgar?
Just fit.
Okay.
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 Okay, waiting.
Oh, join. There we go. So I'm just going to move you down while I'm trying to connect Peter here.
Move it slightly up. Unmute.
Oh, fantastic. You can see, right,
Okay,
Peter?
I think,
No,
yes, I can see.
Okay, wait a minute.
So I can see this Californian dude here. Okay, I'm going to go full VR so that it's not too messy a background. And then,
No, I can't turn off.
hang on.
I got two speakers shouting at me.
Yeah, can you turn on off your computer one?
You can't hear me then.
I hear you.
Hang on, now I have a similar problem.
Well,
I can't actually hear
is
you
that
anymore.
both of them are speaking. I have to disconnect one of them.
Yeah, so I'm going to try to give us a shared experience here.
No, that's that.
Okay.
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 It doesn't like me trying to launch something now that we have SharePlay on. Okay, I'm just going to open my, okay, not shared. Share my entire window.
This is maddening.
This is maddening. Where is it here? No.
You should have some
And
sort
you
of
say
invitation for, so is it the sound you're working on?
Sound you're working on?
yeah. I hear me and then I hear it there. And when you talk, it's coming out of both speakers.
Yeah, you can mute in FaceTime if your computer's still running. That should be fine. So just tap on the picture of me in FaceTime and then at the microphone button. That's what I had to do to you. I had the same problem.
I can't see the microphone. Ah, no, can't do it.
That's me.
That's me. Oh,
Okay, wait a minute.
hey, wait a minute.
Peter, you can see my environment, right?
Yes, everything looks perfect from here.
Can you hear me now?
Boom, boom, boom.
Okay.
I'm just going to increase the volume of my laptop before we. Okay. It's stereo video, by the way, as you can see here in the corner. It's absolutely, when viewed in the headset, it's absolutely insanely good. You know, when I'm looking at it now, it looks like I'm in the back of that taxi.
It does look like you're in. Oh.
Are you able to join the, hang on, just moving you about. Oh yeah, so if you tap on my name now, Rob, you will get a little bar at the bottom with my name and an X to disconnect.
No, I can move you around.
Tap inside the
No,
box
I
again.
can't.
No, but look inside the box, not the bar, and tap again.
Oh, well, you're not inside the box.
Am I outside the box?
Oh, you're on the side.
Okay, so if you then, okay, because you are not.
I'm looking at the computer.
What are you thinking about, Edgar?
What do you mean looking at the computer?
I'm looking at my computer is right in front of me. You're on the side in a separate window.
Yeah. Okay. So look at me and just tap your fingers, and that should generate a bar underneath.
Okay. And now what?
In there on the top right, there is a half fuzzy person thing. Try that, please. Oh my God, something's happening. Are you teleporting into my space? Or did you disconnect?
I don't see him anywhere now.
I think you might have disconnected by accident. There's Rob. Yeah, I think he disconnected by accident. Try it again. Yeah, so Peter, what I was saying, you know, this is one of the views I have of Reader in XR. To do
Now we
this.
got it.
Hello.
Hi, you're still in a separate window.
That's okay. I haven't. Okay, I'm going to share now. Oh, so I cannot mirror at the same time, it seems. Okay, we'll tap on in my thing, tap on it instead of the X, which
Yeah, okay, now.
tap on the thing above it.
All right, turn on.
Oh my gosh, you are there.
Oh, I see.
Aha. Okay, so Peter, can you still see?
Yes.
So,
Now what happened?
am I free floating in your space?
You're free floating, but I can't move you and you're almost hidden by the monitor,
Uh,
which I can shrink. Okay, I shrink that.
what you can do, what I just did with you, I look at you, pinch, and then I get this rectangle on the ground where I can place you where I want you. I have control over Rob.
No. It goes to your picture.
That's actually, oh, come on, come back.
Move you over here. All right.
This is extraordinary. What are you trying to do? Tickle me? Oh,
Oh, there's the rectangle. Oh, okay.
can you see that I have a PDF open, Rob?
Yep.
Okay.
Put you there.
It's kind of odd because I can't put you in a useful view. So I'm going to have to. The thing is, all apps support this spatial sharing, but not very well. As in, there are some limitations. I'm going to have to tell my programmers how it should. Because you're seeing it from
So
the side.
is Rob seeing it from the perspective that I'm seeing it, or is Rob seeing it from the direction his head is looking into the space and not seeing the PDF off to, I guess, his relative right?
I see my computer screen, which has my stuff on it. And I see floating in space to the left of it. And I'm hearing it twice.
Where do you see the PDF?
You don't.
Or do you not see the PDF?
No.
Okay. Yeah, okay, that's the issue. I can't share because I'm sharing externally, but okay, at least now we know. But I'm going to just change. What environment are you in? You're in your own room environment. You're not in my by the lake environment, right?
No. Why am I not in your lake?
I think the only thing that you're projecting is where you are. I'm going to change to Joshua Tree. Oh, it doesn't change. I guess I can't change during a session. Anyway, that was worthwhile. Having you floating in space was quite
Yeah,
fascinating.
but I don't see, oh, wait a minute, hide other apps. Close map virtual, okay.
So, Peter,
Yep.
just for a second, I'm going to disconnect the view just so that I can see if I can share the PDF with Rob, okay?
Okay.
So I'm sorry that that's a limitation. I'll try to be quick. So, stop mirroring.
Floating on my screen now, which is fine.
Oh, the sound improved actually. Okay, I can't really see you. I mean, I can't move you anymore, but all right, so I'm going to go back now. Still doubled. So you have to pick one, I think, either headset or computer. So this is weird, everyone, because I haven't programmed this into Reader. When I try to do share, it won't do anything. But if I do share my entire window, oh my gosh.
Here we go. Okay, now I got it.
So Peter, we're now next to each
Where are
other.
you now?
I'm over here to your left, right? Hello.
Oh,
That's a bit close. I'm moving you away. How's that? Cool, right?
oh, now this moves everything. Oh, okay. All right. So you're in profile now.
I'm gonna move this one away. Oh, okay. Oh, that's interesting.
The screen is slanted.
So, Peter,
Yep.
I can now move, when I now move my window for photos, which is the default, it then becomes, hang on, just it made sound, turn that off. It then becomes spatial, as in I move the whole room with Rob in it, so to speak. Rob, can you see Reader here on the as well, a PDF?
See Beijing, Dongting,
Ah, now you can see it.
and voices repeating. Now there's a very large screen full of document. And close here, it should be on the edge of the screen. You can actually
Okay, so this is very good. So Peter, what we're doing now in the same view, we have a PDF huge horizontal in front of us, and Rob's on the left, I'm on the right, opposite. I'm on the left, he's on the right. And we can now, I scroll through the document and you can see what's happening, right, Rob?
Yep.
Fantastic. So here we can choose different views. We can do just 2-page. We can do all wall. Oh. Resizing is sometimes really hard.
reasonably readable.
It's not so bad, is it?
I think it's heavy.
Yeah, it is a bit. Selecting text is still a problem, but you talked about your friend and her eyes when she's reading, doesn't want to take them off. Because in XR we cannot touch anything, I think it's very frustrating. It's like trying to select text is not easy, unless you have a trackpad, of course. So that's why the context menu, this thing, the same as in iOS pretty much. I've redesigned it, which is not what you see here, to be more useful because the controls have to be where you're looking. If the controls are far away, it's easy for you to deselect the text while you try to do the command. All right, let's go out of the world and back to Mr. Peter. And I'll see you in Zoom, Rob. Now we're facing each other, right? How do I cancel the call in here? There we go. That was a worthwhile experiment and experience. Peter, you're still there, right?
Yep.
Okay.
So now I see one of your mailboxes and the PDF in the background.
Yeah, now it's all flatland.
Now I can turn the sound back on.
Yeah, that should be okay now.
Well, the sound issue is a problem.
Yeah, I don't think it's expected that you should have your computer on at the same time, but it's not exactly ideal, though it's been handled, is it?
Since we're working in collaborative work, somebody's computer has to be on.
Well, I mean, we can share everything. If it wasn't for Peter this time being in the outside world, we could do sound and everything in the headset. So at least we're getting closer to understanding what that might mean.
Yeah, it should be selectable by each person.
Yeah,
They'll get there. I was explaining that the headset was like the first car that would get 4 miles on a tank of gas and go almost as fast as a horse. And you would have trouble seeing the utility, but look what happened.
I think that's a very good way of looking at it.
So that was the computer 3D simulation of Rob's torso floating in space?
Yes.
So it wasn't actually like a live camera looking inside of the headset at his head, but it was a reconstruction.
No. It was a camera, but it is a 3D reconstruction based on the camera. So it was a live, of each other being projected.
But it's video.
3D video, yeah.
No, I can't.
Just writing down that we need support for this. Yeah, so that's that. So yeah, anything else for today?
I think I still haven't figured out how to get author inside the VR.
Oh yeah, no, that's that should
Part of
be.
it is just trying to get the URL pasted into the browser. I'm going to have to transfer it into a note and then copy it from the note in the VR and paste it into the
Well,
Safari.
well, there's two different things with that. If you want to use my native software, Author and Reader, you just go to the App Store and it should be there. But for the work we're
I
doing,
didn't see it.
okay, and it's been updated. It's finally properly live now. But if you want to do the XR experiences, that's why we have our simple URL. Just go to futuretextlab.info and you can easily click through to whatever is the latest one.
Okay.
So that should help. I'll put you have that in there already, right? Boom, here it is.
I think so.
I've also
Maybe
gone through Dini's use case again as research question and try to piece it into smaller interactions. So we have something more solid to refer to. So that is there. There are a few things we need to build. So Peter, a question for you.
Yeah.
Because in the group, this is an interesting issue of not always agreement. And first of all, as I've said a million times, thank you for the idea of throw away extra appendices for visual meta. It's very useful. What I'm thinking of doing is when someone opens a document that has visual meta, proper visual meta, not just citation in XR, that there is also some pre-stored spatial information in there. That shouldn't be the biggest thing in the world, should it?
Well, there are a couple ways I could think of approaching it. One, we could have a couple standard templates for spatial configurations, and that would be sort of like the CSS grid model where you can have named grid regions. So you'd simply say this should be in whatever the named region is based on some standard stock template. The other possibility is, of course, to go really low level and give actual XYZ coordinates in the space and give a set of orientation dimensions to that. So you'd basically give the angles to represent what the orientation of the object is, plus the three-dimensional spatial coordinates for it to appear at. But I think that would be more verbose and just probably too low level. Nice to be a little more abstract. And the third possibility is to come up with just sort of some sort of a language to describe spatial configurations. And the picture language in the classic textbook structure and interpretation of programming languages sort of gives you a perspective of how that could work. You'd basically say that you want something alongside of another thing, how much you want it scaled, and describe it using compositional building blocks like that.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I'm also thinking about is Zordini is very keen not to be 360 forward focused, which is what you'd have to be an author, for instance. You have to look where your keyboard is if you're typing. So I understand her different use case. So in her use case, you will still have a 360 environment, but you may still have something like top, bottom, right, or left, something that basic. So let's say we go to one of our early designs and we have, oh, hello, Leon. Actually, Peter, I'm going to pause this now, show Leon the thing we just looked at because it's going to be completely relevant to that in a minute. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay, thanks. Leon, you have the ability to be both very late and very early all at once, which is pretty perfect.
Nice.
Yeah, indeed. Very nice. Right. So this is a thing that I came up with on the flight and mocked up, and I think it solves a problem for us. I've mocked it up in Author in my own software style, but I think it'll work better in XR, and I'll show you at the end. It's really brief what that would mean. Oh, hang on. The dialogue thing is over what I need to show you. Okay. Right. So in Author today, at the bottom of the screen, you have right/map. So this is the map view. This is the right view. And you can see it bolds when you go there. I'm thinking of adding references. First, it just shows you a column, because very often you just want a column. Lower right, you can choose how to sort it by author title or occurrence in the document. If it's by occurrence in the document, it'll show where these things are. So the very top one would be the first citation in the document, and if there's a heading, it would appear here. So that could be kind of fun. But on the left, column/timeline, if you click timeline, it does this. So timeline with the same sorting goes from left to right, oldest document on the left, newest document on the right. So,
That's pretty impressive.
it's simple, right?
I like it, yeah.
Thank you. So it's kind of funny, 2 years of looking at timelines, and finally I realized, because we talked about XYZ axes a lot, and all that's happening here is we're using one for sorting and one for time, but you can easily toggle between them. And if you then click on one, you get lines to previous documents, meaning it cited it, lines to the right to documents that cited it. And then you have a little more info like the specific year and the authors, a little boxy thing. So that's it. I'm very glad you like it. For me, it simplifies a lot. So if I could, I would probably implement this in Author, but it's more important for us to have it in XR. So the idea would be that instead of this bar at the bottom of the screen, our little bar in XR, the black thing, just show it there. Exactly the same options, right? We could even keep the right and not, obviously in reader view, it would be plain document or something and references, but as a something to play with.
Now, another fun thing we could do in XR would be to assign the depth axis maybe to relative occurrences of citation in the book. So you have two dimensions independently at play along with the timeline.
Yeah, I think if we agree on an approach like this, I think we should take what. Oh, by the way, Leon, have you had a chance to look at the code for Andrew's XR experiment so far?
Which version? I think I looked at it last week or 2 weeks ago.
Oh, okay. Yeah, good. Yeah, so now we need to kind of take stock and decide where to go and also how to optimize the code slightly. So that's why I thought of it. Peter just had a look.
Yeah, I think it really should factor that into multiple files. Right now, it's like one single main.js with 3,000 or so lines worth of code all in a single file.
Yeah, it's a bit much. Right. So what I was trying to say, sorry, I got a bit derailed there, is I think we should do this one in a rectangle first, play with it with something like this, and then feel how the other dimension adds to it. Because I completely agree with you, Peter. We should not make these things always flat. But I think it's very, very difficult to pre-guess what it should be.
Mhm.
Also, an additional thing of this is what we were talking about, Leon, when you came in now, is how it should be possible to hint in a document 3D aspects, spatial aspects. So when you open a document in XR, it's not always flat. It can have a little bit of this goes there and that goes here kind of a thing to it. We're wondering if that's useful, how to do that maybe, and if so, what aspect should be done that to, etc. Related to our copy-paste discussion, I think.
Yeah. Well, I'm having it's a bit like I'm a bit confused lately about whether doing or implementing something which works very well in 2D to implement it first in 2D in XR as well versus implementing a XR take on that 2D archetype almost. So yeah, it's I find it a bit tricky, as in like it's easy to confuse the user with a bad XR version of something which they know in 2D, and it might be boring to do something in XR in the 2D way as well. So it's a very hard topic. And which specific use case can you tell me again more precisely which specific use case this is in 2D and in XR?
I'm just going to give you a link on that. I think these are very wise questions to address. So what I've done on our website, we now have on the page I gave you, three main things: research questions, use cases, and user history. If you click on use cases, there is
Dini's things?
yeah, actually go to research questions. That's where they are. 1, 2, 3 research questions.
Uh-huh.
On the bigger thing, what I'm thinking we should do is first try to optimize how an academic beanie works now. And once we've got that kind of okay, we should sit back and see how can we optimize academia as a whole, throw everything away other than the basic core tenets of what academia should be. So if we want a new document format, we'll just use it. A new way of working, we'll just do it. I think it would be a very interesting counterpoint. And hopefully there, we could do more XR first. I mean, Author, my word processor, was developed for iPad before computer, which I found gave me a completely different view of what it might be to write. So it's probably a good idea to do XR first once we can.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, to be honest, I found it a bit overwhelming how Dini is doing research. I read she posted some kind of text about what her work is and her setup, and it was quite intense. If you look at all the devices, all the things she has to keep open at the same time, that was quite intense, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to ask her if research question number 3, assessing a graduate paper, should maybe be swapped out for something more general, maybe reading our book, because that only goes towards professors who are doing PhD students, which is a very small user group compared to students, doesn't involve students. So we can look at, in terms of the intensity, she does do, Dini is quite unusual, of course. which is why she's so brilliant. So she has quite a different workflow from some academics, but it's a very valid workflow, so I absolutely think we should stick to it, but not necessarily for all the use cases.
True. I was also thinking, now you're saying this, that skimming is something which becomes very important the more content you have to process in a very short amount of time. I was thinking that it's quite annoying to, or it's quite intense for your brain to go through pages, like press page down and go through all these pages and wait until you see something you need. If you're lucky, you have some kind of index, but sometimes you really have to skim. And I was even thinking that it would be great if you could skim through a set of pages. And now I'm again referring to your demo of last week in Vision Pro. For some reason, it sticked into my brain, but yeah, I'm now thinking that it might also be an interesting opportunity to skim through large documents in a different way by having more things or being able to see more pages at the same time. I don't know how they should be grouped, but it might be a bit easier to sort of look at all these pages and then do a sort of almost a meta page down, which gives you another bulk of pages.
I strongly agree with that. So Doug Engelbart had a view in his view specs, which was, of course, outline was one. And then you had one where you would see every heading and below that the first line under that heading, because the first line gave you a better indication of what is actually in that section. So, in author and reader, you can collapse into an outline, which is somewhat useful. But what you're talking about now, I think, is much more important to, you see, this is what I really want to do, in addition to following the world as it is. I want the author to be able to, okay, well, I'm just going to share a bit of screen. Because some of these things we kind of have, okay, I'm just going to collapse you guys on the side here. What do we got? Okay, this is my journal, right? So if I now fold it, as you know, it just becomes an outline. But you see here, that text in the gray, that is text that is highlighted in there. Right?
Aha.
So for me, it says this is something that I'm still working on or thinking about. And then, of course, we have a focus mode where it follows, everything is grayed out except where your cursor is. But we also have this mode that if you bold something, because usually bold is important to someone, you can choose to gray everything that isn't bolded, which gives you yet another way to skim through your document, right?
Mm-hmm.
So a point of that is so this one doesn't really have so this is Dini's article that you were talking about. It doesn't have real
Correct.
visual meta. It's got post added visual meta and entities. So that means we don't have a table of contents or anything like that, but I can still do things like this. I can still see what AI generated keywords are found and where. We still have things like show names. So that this is only the names, and it would be per section if it was a longer document, because it auto extracts that as well. And if there are any glossary terms, and there aren't any. Let's close this.
This is very cool. You could even share it with a friend and say, yeah, everything I read is the bad stuff, in my opinion. Everything in green is the good stuff in this book, and this will save you a lot of time. focus on the good stuff, for example.
Yeah, that's really important what you're saying. One thing, in messages now, you can select the message and tap, and then you get a thumbs up or thumbs down, a heart, and all these icons, right? I think it might be useful to be able to do something similar here in text to easily, like, okay, so I'll do a highlight yellow here. So it becomes a bit strong. But then this bit we don't like. So we do strike through, right? And then we have the normal highlights like this, which is just select text and H. These all have different effects on when I scroll out. That was massive. Yeah, see, this is what it looks like as a table of contents. Title and then small of the author of that section. Oh, that's weird. Didn't... all right, I got to work on that. But the point is that, yeah, we need to be able to specify we need to annotate in useful and quick ways. And okay, so back to what I was trying to say. I'm sorry, I'm going a bit all over the place. I'm obviously a bit jet lagged and a bit silly. When you are authoring a document, you should be able to do these types of hints. And when you present the document, it should look normal. But then if you go to a specific view, you can see what the user has decided to highlight for you. So what you saw here, normally you shouldn't see this. You are sitting at your desk. But if you fold it in a specific way, then you can see all the kind of hints that the user has given for reading that document. And some people would find it tedious. Some people might find it fun, like annotating pictures to upload to social media or that kind of thing. You know, you're massaging your information to make it more interesting for people.
It would be great if you could. Yeah. No, sorry, I don't want to. I'm maybe because it's late here. I'm in a complete full-on brainstorm mode here. I don't want to interrupt anything. What was going on here?
We were just talking about there's been a side discussion with some people about the notion of marking up a document. So when you open it in XR, it has some dimensionality to it, like the exploded view we talked about. And stuff. That's all.
Yeah.
So please continue your side quest, which probably is a core quest, but anyway.
Yeah, I was just thinking of a like I'm just thinking in the future where this type of stuff is basically bread and butter and super normal to do. I was just thinking I could imagine that you would basically start reading a book as a student, and then you basically enter some kind of I don't know, email address or some kind of email address of your teacher, and then it will your reader will basically pull maybe or will try to pull some kind of visual meta with annotations from the internet to sort of like hint the student how to read this book, and then you can see all these things which you were basically just showing, like annotations, this and that, because there are so many books. They are, I don't know, if I give a book of Karl Popper to a friend of mine, he will think I'm crazy. Like, what the hell is this book? I don't understand anything. And so there's like, if I could give him like all this information I already had, added to this book, I'm just thinking of the fact that the book is sort of like written in stone, but my visual meta is not. So that is sort of fluid. I'm just thinking of how to, how to add that to a book. If I send a book to a friend from which is written by Rob Swigert, then I want to add some stuff about Rob, or what I know about Rob, or what I think why this is cool, like some personalization. I'm just thinking of, like, in the future that must be very easy to do
Well,
somehow.
hypothesis kind of addresses this to an extent, but I think what you're talking about here is really, really important, and this is it is exactly the discussion we're having. So, a document is a document because it documents something, right? A shared document, in my mind, should not easily be changeable, because then you can't cite it and you just don't know what's happened to it. That's why I don't like Word, I don't like Google Docs, etc. But what you're saying is that you should be able to publish or share a thing, and that thing should have multiple relative layers or context. So this is what Peter has suggested can go into the visual meta appendix as separate items, so they can easily be discarded on use. One thing we've talked about before is, let's say you send someone our book, which is very long, but you say only read pages 102 to 106, for instance. So you then do a binding of that. So that could easily go in the visual meta and say, on first opening, go to 102, hide everything else. 102 to 106 only, hide everything else. The user can read that, and if they choose to, they can click a button, show me the whole thing, bam, there it is, right? Because, size of a book isn't that big. And this also goes to the discussion of, I have this very specific view that I want of these pages to appear in XR. So I want it to be this, that, and the other, exactly the same kind of thing. So what you're saying now is related to what we just looked at. An author can say, I've written this document and I have little extra notes, not end notes, but extra notes that I would like a novice reader to read, that I've written here in a special kind of end note. Let's call it an XR note or something. And then finally, one thing that Wendy Hall, my main advisor, said many years ago, starting on my PhD, she doesn't have time to write a lot. She wants to be able to just compile things. So what I can imagine that you're talking about here, Leon, is something like you're going through a PDF and you literally drag URLs onto it, or you just drop things from the web. You just put stuff in. Oh no, this is about that. And that adds a layer where a reader can choose to see Leon's additional information that is in this document. I think this is core. I think this is really important. I think that since we have Rob here in the group, I just looked at him and I thought, we have hypertext in the sense of linking in small units. We have spatial hypertext, which is hypertext primarily in 2D, which is important. But what you're talking about here is a hypertext layering mode, right? What is visible, what is not visible. We haven't really discussed that enough. What are the layers of a document? I could very easily imagine Rob writing something that is quite simple text, but he has added these kinds of layers that the reader can choose to take advantage of. And if we can do that in an open format that is really easy for anybody to use, I think we'll have something quite powerful. So that was not a side quest. That was really core. Thank you for thinking about that.
Like the
Yeah.
idea. I think I'll do it.
Well, if you want to do it, talk to us and we'll make it possible. You could be ground zero use case.
Sorry.
We already have things like glossaries, which are to an extent that. Indexes are also to an extent that. But to make it an explicit thing, I mean, imagine Peter writing a thing about our conversation or whatever, sharing it with the group. because annotations is talked about by so many groups all over the place. But let's say we certainly are the ones to make it happen properly, right? So he sends his document to me, for instance, and I add further stuff or comment on that. And then Leon, you've had the original, but I send you one that has 2 sets of things on it. Systematically, that should be parsable, right? I think a lot of, you're basically justifying my whole PhD here, because programmatically with databases and stuff, it can become really messy with versioning. But imagine if your annotations are listed as a visual meta appendices. Every time you add one on that, let's say on a day before you share it, it's 1 page, or obviously it could be more than one, but it has 1 heading. Leon's comments made this, this, and this to these sections, and it's in the visual meta referring to the document rather than in the document, right? So it's kind of markup or off. Then parsing system should easily be able to do things like delete everything by Leon. I don't care about him, or only show me Leon. All of that stuff should be possible.
Yeah.
And also,
Yeah.
an amazing thing here. Sorry, I think you just sold something. Because imagine if Peter. Okay, so I've had this vision of Dini working, and it's really annoying because it's something that should be possible. Dini working in her fully spatial environment, standing up, moving about, all of that, but pulling out text and putting it in places, which our systems don't really support yet. But so I can imagine that being supported by this, right? You select a stretch of text, you pull it off, and where you pull it is recorded, right, into this layer. So that means that when Peter gets her document like this, if she chooses to share it with that, he can then choose Dini exploded view.
Yeah, I can see that happening. Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Rob. Oh, I was also thinking, just to go on this example of sharing a PDF, a book written by Rob, but with an extra layer of more fluid data with my annotations, or where I pulled it out to which sentence to which position. You want to, the only thing missing is that we basically need to lock the contents of Rob and be thinking out of the box. We should actually suggest that this ISBN number gets an update to ISBN number plus it's called a hash. And this hash is basically Rob's whole book, all the text compressed to one big number. And this number it fits on one line. But if the ISBN number is connected to this hash, then it's a bit like a blockchain. Then you could actually just do one call to the internet, like this ISBN number, is that this hash? And then it says, yes, that is the hash and the ISBN number which Rob submitted, or Rob's publisher. And then your reader or author knows that this whole text is legit, and that the text below, the visual meta, can be edited. So that's the only thing, sort of like this, sort of like block. It's not a blockchain, but it's more like the document as a block, a locked block, which was written by Rob, and the rest below it can be, extended with visual meta written by students, Dini, me, you. And you can just switch between whose visual meta you want to see or not see. I can definitely imagine that.
Yeah, that makes all
sense. And to add to this idea is basically this problem is already solved in software. All software developers, they want to make sure that everybody is running the software they wrote and has not been tampered with. So they can give an extra file, a checksum file or a hash file, and then if you unzip it can be verified if that is actually the contents of the zip was actually as the developer intended, and something like that could be used here as well to ensure that Rob's book was not tampered with and was not changed.
You mean the underlying, or you mean the annotation on top?
I just more mean that the book, all the text Rob wrote is locked, is cannot be edited, because then the hash and the verification would not work anymore. But like all the annotations can be changed by, of course, by anybody, and they will always work because the original document is not changed. So the page numbers will always work out. The matching a sentence will always work out because the document is never changed. The document which Rob wrote is never changed. The real contents, the non-metadata.
And also the annotations. So the use cases that Dini shared with us, I don't know where she wrote it. It may very well have been Pages or Word and exported to PDF. When I tried to copy some of that text, it was very badly garbled, like we would expect with PDF. For some reason, that does not happen to PDF exported by author. I think it's simply because it does less. It's trying to do less underneath. So what I'm thinking, Mark helped me with my thesis, which I'm going to have to start working on today. He's done a lot of corrections, goodness gracious. He's put a lot of notes in the PDF. But if we have an architecture here where anything that is done by the user is a visual meta, then it means that it doesn't mess with the real document. So you can choose to, and also finally, this is where your checksum thing comes in for me. Mark, for instance, is an expert in a field of hypertext. I've always wanted to subscribe to his documents, but what I can do with what you're talking about is subscribe to his annotations. So also with music these days, it's almost all DJs that are famous, not the individual musicians, at least for modern music, not pop music. So I can imagine here that when, let's say, a new conference proceeding of hypertext comes out, we wait until Mark has gone through it. He will have annotated a few things on the different papers he thinks we would like. All we need to do is import those pages of metadata to our current documents, and that's it. And then we have them.
Yeah, I can
view them or delete them.
I can definitely imagine it. One note, it's very late here. I have to get up early tomorrow. I just wanted to hop on quickly, but now I have to go, unfortunately.
No, that's fine. I think it's very, very late to early here at 6:23 in the morning. I think we can safely leave the call here. I'm very grateful for this call, that you guys showed up at these odd hours. Fabian was trying to, but didn't become practical. On Wednesday, I think I'm going to come to the normal call, the normal hours. I will just have to be up at midnight. That's fine. Family holiday, it's not a problem. I'll send it out an email. But maybe one of the things we should talk about is hypertextual annotation layers. Should we call it that?
Sounds good.
I'll put that in our thing here. 1 second. Okay, yeah, all right. I'll excuse everybody. Leon, thank you for being the reason we're finishing early. We should do that. And Rob and Peter, thank you. Look forward to seeing you Wednesday or Monday, whatever you can. we are now going to do Wednesday normal time.
All right.
Okay.
Right,
Okay.
Wednesday, that's gonna be tough for me. I've got an airport run at 4:30.
Okay. All right. Well, see you soon when we can, Rob, and we'll make it happen that you can write in these ways. Okay. Bye.